मैम आप लाइव हैं एंड आप इंट्रोडक्शन से स्टार्ट कर लीजिए। ओके। Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on how to build a powerful resume. We'll be starting in just few seconds, waiting for everyone to join in. Before we start, I'll just have a quick, introduction about myself. I am FCCA Disha Chauhan. I'm an ACCA fellow now, and I've conducted various trainings on resume building, interview skills. So I thought it would be very helpful for some students out there who struggle to build a resume, and because of this, they don't even get called in for interviews. So let's quickly start. I have prepared a short presentation for you wherein we'll discuss few things, and then in the end, of course, there will be a Q&A. So those of you who are new, make sure you are subscribing to our channel so that you get updated whenever we post such videos or such webinars. And if you have any questions during the session or afterwards, we will have a Q&A. You can just type it in the chat box and we'll be happy to help you with that. All right, so we'll be starting now with the uh, webinar. So welcome everybody. First we'll just discuss quickly what are we going to be covering today. So we will be talking about what is a resume, how resume and CVs are different, what are the different resume formats, what you need to really know before making a resume. We'll also share with you some resume writing tips so that you can present it in a way that can help you to get hired. And finally, we'll of course be talking about the mistakes that you should be avoiding, because there are many people who do some mistakes and they make their resume in such a way that it will for sure get rejected. So that is something that we want to definitely avoid. So let's first discuss about resume versus CV. So what is a resume and what is a CV? So many people actually don't know that there is a difference. They use it interchangeably. So if a company asks you to submit a resume, then don't upload your CV. So resume and CV are actually two different documents and you should have both of them ready. Most of the companies, of course, ask for a resume. So we're talking about that because CVs are actually more extensive. So a CV, which also stands for curriculum vitae, it includes full extent of your academic credentials, your professional experience. Now this will have a lot of detail. For few people, the CVs can even be, more than a page. But generally, what we say that resumes should be not more than a page, right? That is what we generally say, that it is fine that CVs, it could be that you could have more than a page, 2 page. Some people even have 3 page who have, let's say, more than 20 years of experience because there will be so much data that they'll be putting in. But resumes, you like to keep it short. Resumes are concise. They will only include your skills and qualification which is related to the position you are applying for. So a well-crafted resume should contain basically the gist of your CV, but you have to place it strategically. So of course it is gonna include all the important aspects, whether it's your education or professional qualification, all that is in your CV also. But in your CV, it's in more detailed manner. But in your resume, you have to strategically pick and make sure that you're trying to put it in one page in a concise form, only including relevant skills and qualification for the position you're applying. So you could be having various skills and qualifications. Let's talk more about the skills. You could be having hundreds of skills, but let's say the position you're applying for, they need those 20 skills of yours. So talk on those rather than elaborating on all of your skills. So compared to the static CV, your resume should be adapted and tailored to every position you apply for. And the best way to accomplish this is to study the job requirements closely. Now, this is a very, very important point. What happens is you make a resume and then you just keep on applying to various companies, tens of companies, hundreds of companies, and then you are disheartened that, oh, I'm not getting a call. The reason you're not getting a call is you are not tailoring your resume. Most of the organization these days, because they're getting so many resumes, use ATS system, which is an applicant tracking system. Now this is a software, it will have some keywords inputted. If those keywords are not in your resume, it will straight away get rejected. So that is why it is important that whatever the company has given you, the JD, the job description, you read that, you see in that what all you have actually done, what all you can do, and then you tailor your resume as per the JD. You have to do that each and every time. Yes, it might sound cumbersome, but actually there are only few things that you have to change. Most of your resume will remain same. I would say 70% will still remain the same, but that 30% you will have to change as per the job description. You will have to include some keywords if you want that your resume doesn't get rejected. We'll talk about the ATS more in detail later on, but for now you need to understand that it's an era of technology. No one is manually going through your resumes. So they will put in some keywords. Those keywords they are picking from their JD itself. If you are not tailoring your resume, it will get rejected. So what the recruiters really want to know? Of course, they want to know about your relevant skills, your qualification. They want to know your work experience, what education you have, any special certifications you have, maybe any professional certifications or any other, technical certifications, any accomplishments, any contributions that you have done in the past at your workplace or anywhere else, leadership and teamwork examples, or any relevant interest and extracurricular activities. Remember, the important word here is relevant. Don't put things like, oh, I love listening to music, until and unless you're applying for a job which requires, your music skills or something like that. So that is what is important to focus here, relevant. That if you are working on or applying for, let's say, a technical job, and you say that my interest is doing coding in my free time, then you can put that because that's a relevant interest. Now, including all of these will sort of help your resume to stand out, and your chances of getting called in for that interview will definitely increase. Now, there are three types of resume formats that one can follow. One is reverse chronological. That is, latest work experience will come first. Let's say you work somewhere from 2024 to 2025. So that will come first. Then let's say you work 2020 to 24 somewhere. Then that will come later on. So latest work experience will always come first if you're following this one. So you will highlight your most relevant experience up top first. That being said, you shouldn't list every job you have done. Maybe you have done 15 jobs. If you'll keep on listing, it won't fit. So only focus on those jobs that you want them to know about, and that you want, or that are related to the job you're applying. So make sure you're doing that. Demonstrate what impact you have created in your workplace. Now this is for people who have experience, right? But there might be many people who have no experience. You might be a fresher. So for a fresher, you can follow the type 2, which is you will focus on your skills and achievements, what you have done in your college, any achievements. Maybe you participated in debates, so you can mention that. Maybe you were very good in sports, you're winning some trophies, mention that. Maybe you are handling, there are hackathons and all of those things, you're participating in that, maybe you mention that. So you'll focus on what skills you have. Maybe you're very good with computers, maybe you're very good with designing, whatever is your skill, you will focus on that because you have no experience to show. And the third is, of course, a combination, best for those who have a diverse skill set. That is someone, who have a lot of work experience also, but have some skills also to showcase or achievements. So you can show a combination then. So if you are already established in your field, then your education can go last. So basically, if I have good amount of experience, let's say 3 years plus of experience, then I will put my experience first because experience will then be greater than education. However, if you are recently graduated, of course, you have nothing to put in your experience as such. Maybe 1 or 2 months of internship, right? But that's not so much. So then your education will move up to the top, and then you can mention if any internship you have done. So that is a golden rule to remember. Now, preparation is the key. You really need to know before writing your resume. So what do you need to know? You need to know yourself. If you don't know yourself, you don't know your skills, you don't know your strengths, your goals, your values, your experiences, then you can't really make up a resume. Resume is not something that you can just copy paste from somewhere or use AI to just make something. No, it has to come from your heart. It has to be truthful. So, firstly, you need to sit down with a pen and paper and really think about it. What am I actually good at? So, you'll mention your skills, your strengths, your goals. You need to be self-aware. Now, that is very important. If you're good at communication, pen it down. If you're good at something else, public speaking, pen it down. So, you need to really know yourself. Then, of course, you need to know the job details. By knowing the job details and then customizing your resume accordingly, you demonstrate that your qualification fits for that position. And significantly, that is going to increase your chances for, getting called up for that interview. So that is why it's always very important that you read the job description. Now, the job description the company gives is not just for the sake of it. You actually need to read it, analyze it, and then see how you can incorporate it, what they are asking or they are looking for in your resume. That is a very important thing to do. Those people who do not do that, those people who just make one resume and send it everywhere, then you will face problem. You will not be called in. Maybe you will get called in 2 or 3 times places, but not more than that. But someone who, let's say, tailors their resume, right, every time, their chances are significantly going to increase. All right, include a professional summary, that is, have a career summary rather than career objective. So, some people, if you have ever seen, will include in their resume that the career objective is this, this, this. So, don't mention that. I always suggest instead of putting out the objective, put a brief summary that I basically saying I have 10 plus years of experience or I have 5 plus years of experience in data analyzing, blah, blah, blah. And these are my key interest skills. So, professional summary, what you have done rather than stating out a objective, which is more or less always copy pasted. Now, you need to write the real. That is very important. Firstly, you need to optimize the name and contact section. Make sure you are hyperlinking if you're providing your email address, your LinkedIn profile. These days, everybody has to be on LinkedIn, right? And many of the job opportunities, maybe you're applying from LinkedIn. So, in your resume, make sure you have hyperlinked that profile so that the recruiter can just click on it and your profile will open and then they can browse through it easily. If you have any personal portfolio website, maybe you write blogs, something related to work, you can, of course, put that also. Ordering your work experience, like we have already discussed, you will highlight your most relevant experience up top first. How to properly write about a job experience? Again, always highlight your achievement rather than duties. I used to do this. No, what was your duty? We don't want. What achievements you did? Maybe you did something by which, let's say, the sales increased, the profit increased, or the cost decreased. So try to mention that. Maybe the quality you improved. Let's say you were in audit, you did something, you suggested few things, and the quality significantly improved. So highlight your achievement rather than just saying, okay, I used to do this, I used to do journal entries. That's your duty that everybody is doing any which ways. What are extra you're doing? What are your achievements? Then the skill section, useful if of course you have any specific certification skills. Maybe you are certified SAP specialist, put that. If you have done, let's say, Power BI, Advanced Excel, any certification, you can definitely put that. Extracurricular and awards, these convey other traits that recruiters are looking for. Let's say you worked in an organization, you have received awards like Employer of the Month or something like that. So definitely you can put that highlight in there. Count your achievements. Yes. Use action verbs. So you need to begin each bullet point with a strong action verb to describe your responsibilities and how you accomplish it. So if you were, let's say, given a responsibility to manage a team of 4 members, then you tell about that what all you did that led to some accomplishments. Always try to quantify achievements wherever possible. If you have done something that led to, let's say, increase in sales by 10%, so put in that I did this, blah, 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 10% increase of sales in this quarter, as much as you can quantify, because that looks more realistic. Always try to use the star method, which is basically when you're detailing, let's say, any accomplishment or maybe one project you did very well or something you accomplished, how will you explain that? Use the star method. Firstly, lay out the situation. What was the task? What action you took? And finally, what was the result of it? Maybe quality improved, maybe costs were cut, maybe employees retention improved, whatever it was. So that is how you will do it. So firstly, you describe the situation or problem, the task you undertook, the action you implemented, and finally the positive result that you achieved. This structure will basically help to provide a clear and concise narrative of your contributions. Show career progression. That is also important. If applicable, demonstrate how you have grown in your roles over time. So maybe you started as an analyst, then you move up to a senior role, then maybe an assistant manager. So try to demonstrate that how in the past few years you have worked up on your skills, your leadership and all of that, and got into a position. So highlight any promotions maybe you have received, or maybe they increased your responsibilities, or any successful projects to basically illustrate your career progression and professional development. Then best practices for layout and design. I always suggest these days in the market, when you Google resume formats, you will get many fancy formats. Don't go with all that. You need to keep it clean and organized. Don't pick a format which has too many colors in it, unnecessary things. There are some formats which have a section in which it's written skills or strengths, and then they give stars, and you are only rating yourself. So that is all very stupid in my opinion, trust me. Because like I have mentioned earlier also, ATS, applicant tracking system, also when you upload, the company might be using ATS, and these resumes could get rejected. Clean organized format, normal on Word document, you make few simple tables, segregate it, save it as a PDF, and then upload. That is the best way. Just white and black. Don't do anything too fancy. Appropriate margins, spacing, that is important. Clear headings and subheadings. Now that is very important, because the ATS will be going through these headings and subheadings. So, and the ATS has these already fed. So that's why it's important to use such headings which are generally accepted and generally widely used, like work experience, education, skills. So try to use such headings, maybe in bold, so that it's clearly standing out. Bulleted list for easy scanning. Don't put in long paragraphs. Nobody has time to go through that. Put bullet points so that it's easy for the person. If the person, let's say the ATS approves it, and then a person, human, is actually looking at it. If there are bullet points, they will be more, easy for them to scan through it. Consistent font and font size. Many people do this mistake, and it's a shame. Like when you're submitting a resume, this is a basic thing. If you're using different fonts and font size, then that is not appropriate. If you're doing Times New Roman, stick with that. If you're doing Calibri, stick with that. Don't keep on changing, and try to use a professional font, not something which is too, free flowing types. Appropriate use of white space. So your resume should have some gaps in between, so that there is some white space and it doesn't feel like, oh, there's just information. Like I've said, use of professional colors. Stick to typically black text on a white background. This, gives more professional look and clean and formal look. So don't put in too much color. Some people put a lot of colors, and that's very distracting. Now, some of my best resume writing tips would be, try to avoid any vague terms in your resume. Don't just mention that, oh, I'm a very detail oriented person, or I'm very hardworking. How would they know that? In an interview, you can still explain it with an instance and, maybe with a long story. But in a resume, you don't have so much of space to explain why you're a hard worker or how you're a hard worker. So avoid these terms. Cite instances your skills benefited your team or employer, that how your skill benefited your company, your client, your team, whosoever. And I've mentioned this, include your LinkedIn profile, hyperlink it especially. Make sure your resume is action oriented. Just don't say that, oh, I did this, I did this. No. How you'd achieve something, what all you achieve. It should be action oriented. Use bullet points for better readability. Avoid paragraphs. I have already discussed this. And finally, use clean job appropriate templates, which we already discussed as well. Now, ATS compatibility tips. Like I've said, most of the companies worldwide, they get hundreds and hundreds of applications. It's not possible for a human HR to go through each one of them. So what companies are doing? They are using ATS software, which is the applicant tracking system or software. So they upload all those resumes. The ATS will have those keywords. As an HR, I'll put on, okay, these keywords should be there in the resume. If it's there, the ATS might pass it and then the human might see. That's why it's important that you are making sure your resume is ATS compatible. There are many websites, like you can just Google ATS compatibility check. Once your resume is ready, you can upload on any of these websites and then a percentage comes that how much your resume is ATS compatible. 100% getting compatibility is very difficult. So even if you get, I would say, above 70-75%, it's good enough. Try to aim, of course, 80 above compatibility. And they give suggestions also that how you can improve compatibility. So it's all there available on Google. It's free. So you know you can use all of these tools. Now, for ATS compatibility, you need to use relevant keywords like I have shared, that you need to tailor your resume to include those important keywords and phrases which you need to pick from the job description. Keep simple formatting. Don't add too much graphics or images because that will just complicate it and the ATS might not be able to interpret your resume correctly then. Standard headings, use that. Work experience, education skills. These are the standard headings which are used worldwide, so use that itself. And of course, proofread your resume. Ensure that your resume is free of spelling errors. Now, I get so many resumes because I also, where I work, there are many people that I undergo, like I see the hiring process as well. And I've come across so many resumes in which there are basic spelling mistakes. Now, after seeing that, you really don't want to go through with that candidate because you think that if a person can't even proofread his or her resume, what do you expect from them, right? So it's very important that there are never any spelling errors. That is a very big point. No typos, formatting inconsistencies. So a well proofread and error-free resume will not only, of course, give a more professional image, but also ensure that ATS is accurately then able to process the information. Well, let's say if you have instead of education, let's say the heading is education and you have done a spelling mistake. Now the ATS will not be able to pick that section then. So it's important that you are making sure there's no spelling mistake. You're proofreading it. Now, what are some of the do's for your resume writing? Of course, like I've said, tailor your resume to each job application. That is mandatory these days. You have to do it as much as you might think it's such a pain, but you have to. Include a clear and concise summary of your career. Highlight your achievements. Provide quantifiable results. Keep your resume short and direct. Try not to, go more than a page. Make sure your resume looks neat and appealing. Don't put unnecessary colors. And finally, proofread it very carefully. That is very important. Proofreading. And not just yourself, maybe give it to your family members so that because sometimes we are not able to look at an error, but someone else might. So maybe share it with your friend or family friend or anybody who can, proofread it for you as well. Now, resume blunders. What are the mistakes that we do? Now, most of your HR managers really don't need to know your birth date or see your photo for that matter or your full mailing address. People put that in your resume. These are unnecessary details. You can maybe mention the city you are in, that's fine, but to give your full mailing address, they are not sending you any letter, right? So you don't need to until unless after you've been accepted and they ask for your address, that's a different case. So the top mistakes to avoid, that people just list down their job duty instead of accomplishment. So it gives an impact that you have not done anything as such. Like you'll be given a task and you'll do it, but you will not do anything extra. So you have to mention your accomplishments. Grammatical errors, spelling mistakes, these are a big no-no. You can't afford to have them in your resume, including a full mailing address. Don't do that because your contact information should include only your name, phone number, email address, your LinkedIn profile, and maybe the city, but not your full mailing address. Now, using the wrong font or layout, that is also something, that can maybe not be go so well with the recruiter. So maybe choose a professional font, be consistent with your formatting, avoid any fancy or decorative elements that can really distract from the content because actually the content is the main thing. And any unprofessional email address, let's say you have an email address which you created when you were back in school and it has some not so professional ring to it, like it is schoolboy underscore Ashish, so change that right? make a new Gmail ID. It's any which is free, and use a professional email address. Now, what not to include in your resume? Definitely don't need to put your age, references. They can go in your CV, right? On your curriculum vitae, you can put the references. On resume, don't need to. Any lies, never lie on your resume. Never think that, oh, I'll just, let's say the job description says the person needs to know French, for example, and you say, yeah, I know French. Don't do that. You think that, oh, there are so many people, how will they know? Once I'll get hired, I'll see. No, you should never lie on resume. Trust me, you will get caught. Salary expectations, you're not supposed to put that on your resume, your marital status, anything vague or irrelevant. Why do you need to put that? Hobby section, these are all very irrelevant things. Don't include it on your resume. The hardest thing about actually writing resumes is that you have to be picky. You need to see what is really important that I need to put. Be more critical of the information you share, the words you use. Just don't put anything and everything. You need to be very picky. All right, we will be having some Q&A now. If anybody has any questions, you can go ahead, put it in the chat box, and I will be happy to answer those. Anybody, any questions that you may have? All right, anybody, any questions that you may have, feel free to put it in the chat box and I will then answer it. Anyone, anything. Anyone has any questions, you can put it in the chat box. Anybody has any questions? If you have any doubt, any question relating to this, to resume writing, feel free to put it in the chat box and I'll try to answer it. All right, if no one has any questions, then we can end this webinar. I hope you found this helpful. If you have missed it, this will be available on a YouTube channel. You can watch it again. Maybe when you're making your resume, you need again some reference point, you can watch it again. So make sure you are subscribing to our channel for more such videos and updates. So make sure you're doing that, following us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, because we post a lot of content relating to your resumes, interviews, and other things related to whether it's ACC or other international courses. So make sure you're following us on those channels. And if you liked this today's video, today's webinar, then make sure you hit that like button. And I will see you someday again with another webinar on any other skills. And if you have any recommendations, you can put that also in the chat box and we'll be happy to take on that. All right. Thank you everyone for joining in and have a good weekend.